Are you mad that you cannot find a PlayStation 5 console anywhere without having to pay a really high price to third-party resellers because they bought up most of the inventory in advance, usually by using electronic bots? Or maybe you don't want one for yourself or for a family member, but you're a member of the public watching this or another reseller, and you're upset that other resellers are doing this. Do you think that it's illegal, unethical, immoral, wrong, price gouging? Or are you a reseller who purchased one of these PlayStation 5 consoles in advance, sold it during the release, made a really nice profit to bring home to support your family over the holidays, particularly during tough economic times, and have zero regret whatsoever about making that sale and maybe multiples of that sale? And maybe you're getting a little sick and tired of hearing the media, people from the public, and other resellers attacking you for what you're doing. If so, if you're in one of those categories, this video is for you. The emotions on this topic, which is obviously very controversial, they run high on both sides, but that's not going to stop us here from jumping right into it. Some of the opinions that are expressed on this topic have validity on both sides. That's why it's controversial after all. Now, there are some thoughts that have been expressed on this topic which are just objectively wrong, even though they might sound emotionally correct. They're just factually wrong. So I'm going to go over some of this in a few moments. But before I do so, I want to at least start off with an area, hopefully, of commonality between the two sides, somewhere where we could all agree, and that has to do with a PlayStation 5 scam on eBay that I just found out about this morning, and it just was in the news yesterday. So let me share my screen with you here, and I'll show you the article title right up top. It says PS5 Scam, eBay sends warning to PlayStation 5 fans. Now, when you first see that, you might think, oh, okay, eBay got the message from the public. People are upset. The PS5 console prices are really high, and they're telling people, wait till the market settles down a bit and don't pay these really, high exorbitant prices to people. Is that the scam? Nope, that's not the scam. I'll scroll down for you, and I'm going to show you. They have a little screenshot that's embedded in here. You see the prices are in green. That means it's a completed sold price on eBay. Now, it's a little small, so I'm going to make it bigger on another screen, and these are different sales, but they show the same type of thing, same concept. What you're seeing here looks like it's a PlayStation 5 console, right? Well, it's actually not. Read the title. It's a photo of a PS5 console. Now, this is all happening in England right now. I've not seen any cases in the United States, but you could see here it's very deceptive, because if someone, particularly during a period of very high demand, is looking to get something that's a very, very low supply, they may not read the title. They may not read the description. And I can't tell you what the descriptions say, because as you can see here, when I click on it, eBay has just removed that. This is all that's left, and this probably won't be up long either. These two seem like they're from the same person, and this one seems like it's from someone else. So what would happen is the person makes the purchase, and then, if everything goes through, then, person gets a photograph of a PS5 in the mail. If the person complains, then the person selling it would argue, well, you got what you paid for. It's your fault for not reading the description. Well, that's, it's technically true that they're getting what they paid for, but it's deceptive, and that's not going to fly during a period of high demand and low supply like this. And you could see an eBay spokesperson literally said that and really condemned people doing this. It says, we condemn these opportunistic sellers who are attempting to mislead other users. So I wouldn't even call someone who does this a reseller. Okay. This is just someone who's trying to scam, someone who's trying to be deceitful. And, that's what puts this into a totally different category. And, this is just not something anyone should ever try to do. Don't think you're going to try to get away with any little technicality like that. It's just not going to fly. And you could lose your seller account for doing that. So that's the area of commonality I think that we would all agree on. Now we're going to go into where things split up. And really where things split up is what led to this situation even being possible to begin with. And that is this article right here, which says PlayStation 5 Reseller Group secures almost 3,500 consoles. These are PS5 consoles. Now, this is also in England, by the way. Now, when it says Reseller Group, what that means is that these are people who paid into a private group. They pay like an annual fee, and they get access to news flashes, news alerts from whoever's administering, the group, to let them know, hey, this is the time, this is the place, this is where you got to go to try to get these PS5s. And they'll also give them access to bot software or the opportunity to purchase the bot software. And so what these electronic bots do, if you're not familiar, they're basically computer scripts that could go into a retail company's business, like a Walmart, for example, and they could get in faster than any human being possibly can type on any device and get the item sent to them just before anyone else can. And sometimes they could get them in multiples. And so that's, basically what's going on here. And so as a result, they've been able to command a lot of the market and have been able to, as a group, obtain more PS5 consoles than most major retailers have in stock. Now, as you'll see from a follow-up article to this, and you'll see in this article, they're referred to as a reseller group. In the next article, they're referred to as scalpers, Scalper Group. It's no longer a reseller group, it's a scalper group. So it says they have no regrets overselling the 3,500 PS5 consoles. Why? Well, exactly what I just said earlier. This group says that, hey, there's nothing that we did that was illegal. We put food on the table for its members. They have no regrets. Let me see if I could get some quotes here from someone who issued a statement for the group. It says here, lots of our community have been furloughed, made redundant, or at some form of disadvantage due to the pandemic. These people have managed to cover their bills, put food on the table, and supply Christmas presents to their children. It may be unfortunate that a child woke up to a PS5 this Christmas, but another child may have woken up to nothing. So they're basically saying because of them, these are available to some people. We have no regrets. Now, just as an aside, and it's almost neither here nor there, because there are other examples of this happening with other types of toys, and I'll go over that in a minute. But a PS5 is really something more for teenagers. It's not really something that someone's going to buy for like a 5-year-old kid or something like that. So it's more for teenage groups. But this can happen. The same exact kind of thing can happen for things for younger kids. I'm just pointing that out with the PS5. Now, in terms of PS5 prices, this is the lowest that I could see as of November 27th that you could get a PS5 console, $1,000. Now, the suggested manufacturer's retail price is $499.99, and there's all sorts of different versions of them. I'm not going to go over all that in this video, but that's at least you're paying double the price. That's the cheapest you could find on eBay. Now, in terms of completed sales, I don't know what to make out of some of these, because some of these could just be, just fake prices. People just didn't pay. This one here for $28,000. I doubt that's legitimate. You have another one here for, $14,000. These are auction prices. They're probably not real. And you see a lot of them like that, 10 grand. But you scroll down, and once you start getting more towards, the 5,000, the 4,000, you can see a lot of them in that range. There can be some people who actually did pay that price. In those ranges, it's potentially possible that can happen. And as a result of this, this is what's causing a lot of the a backlash. Like you can see here, here's an article here uses the term scalper again. Beware of toy scalpers. Almost, beware almost sounds like, be fearful of, but beware of them. And, just, it doesn't really give much advice at all. In the article, it's kind of just describing what happened, but I'm just putting that out there to show you what some of the public perception is. Now, as many of you know, I run a Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. I put this article up the other day, and we had a lot of heated opinions on both sides from people that I highly respect on the topic. Now, one of the things that came up repeatedly is the term price gouging. So is this price gouging or not to jack up the price on a PlayStation 5 when it's in high demand and in low supply? It is not technically price gouging, even though emotionally I get it. It feels that way. It's a term you use in conversation. It sounds like it's price gouging, but it's not. Why is it not? And I'll put a list, this list in the description section. I'll put a link so you can see it. But this is from findlaw.com, very highly respected legal site. And let me show you what it says here, okay, for price gouging. When disaster strikes, whether it's a Category 5 hurricane, a pandemic, or an uncontrollable wildfire, consumers are often left scrambling for basic necessities. It's a key word, such as drinking water and medical supplies. When retailers take advantage of these spikes in demand, often coupled with supply bottlenecks, by charging exorbitant prices for necessities, it's referred to as price gouging. That is the key. And you could go and look down by state, but you could see here, like Alabama, charging unconscionable prices for commodities or rental facilities during a declared state of emergency. Let's look at Arkansas, selling commodities, household essentials, fuel after a declared state of emergency. Now, most states will declare price gouging is taking place if the price is 10% to 15% over what the normal market price is. California, selling commodities, household essentials after a declared state of emergency for more than 10% over the cost of these items immediately preceding the declaration. Same thing with Connecticut, and on and on and on. You could go to Texas, for example, and they'll even say, like, listen, sometimes it's not even enough for it to be an essential because, consumers and, people who run businesses, they interact, and, the supply and demand will normally determine, and the competition will determine what someone could put as a price. So for Texas, it's once that declared state of emergency takes place that, that's where, like many of these other states, they're going to call it price gouging. So the key is it's got to be an essential, a necessity, and it's combined with some sort of emergency type of situation. We don't have that with a PlayStation 5 because as much as people might like a PlayStation 5 is not a necessity. No one needs it to survive. Nobody needs it to live. That is the bottom line about this topic. So it's not considered price gouging. Now, is it illegal? Another thing I've heard is that it's illegal to use these electronic bots. Well, it's not illegal to use electronic bots to buy sneakers. Sneaker reseller groups do this all the time. And it's not illegal to use electronic bots to purchase PlayStation 5s or other toys. The only instance where it is illegal to use electronic bots is for tickets. Now, it used to not be this way, but tickets to concerts and events, it's been, legal for many years. But in the last 5 years, governments have been targeting bots with legislation. And there actually is legislation. It's federal legislation, so it applies to all states. They actually named it in kind of a trolling sense after the word bots. It's called Better Online Ticket Sales Act, the Bots Act. That's what it's called. You cannot, it is illegal to buy tickets to events by evading security measures and breaking purchasing rules set up by the ticket issuer. Now, why is this the case? Why is it illegal for concert tickets and it's not illegal for these other things? Well, because eventually what happened is that people in the public started to complain to their legislators and they raised a ruckus about it. And eventually enough people got together, were politicians, and they drafted laws. They set policy, they drafted laws. So now it is an illegal practice. So this is something, by the way, that resellers who use external bots, electronic bots, to buy up massive amounts of these things need to keep in mind if they're going to continue to do this. One thing is that there's just naturally going to be a public backlash. Whether or not you feel you're right or wrong on it, that's just the bottom line. You have to just know that there's going to be a backlash. And the other thing that you need to be thinking about in the future is that that backlash can get significant enough that this eventually one day will be illegal. That's possible. They could make a rule like that for electronics. They can make it very broadly. They can make it for toys. After all, if they have it for tickets, there's no reason they can make it for this. And so the more and more instances like this keep happening, the more likely it's going to occur. Now, this is not new, by the way. It's not like this is just something with the PlayStation 5. Okay. This has happened with Switches. It's happening with the Xbox right now, the new Xbox version that's out. It just happened recently with a NVIDIA graphic card. So it's not new. In fact, you go back many decades. I remember Christmas in the 80s, and everyone wanted one of these. Remember Cabbage Patch dolls right there? Now, there was no internet back then. There was no electronic bots. I need to get some water here, but these retailed for $25 at the time. There was a mad rush in every single Toys R Us, KB Toys, whatever place sold toys to get these things. And there just wasn't enough of them around. The supply was low, demand was high. So as you can see here, let's go down a little bit here. I'll get you an actual quote from the article. Let me highlight it. Although retailing for $25, there were black market sales of Cabbage Patch Kids recorded as high as $2,000. So very similar. People went in, they might have stood online early. They got there in advance. They might have, stayed outside from the night before, and they wound up, getting, a whole bunch of Cabbage Patch dolls and then sold them on the black market somewhere. Those types of things happen, and they've been happening for a long time. So my point is, it's not new. What's new is the use of these electronic bots. Now, you might say to yourself, well, can't this just be something that the retailers, for example, could just defeat by putting something like a Captcha in? So you're familiar with the Captchas. These are these little things that, we have to type in what the number is that we see or the letters that we see or click the boxes with the cars. The problem with those, as this article says, they're a pain in the neck for humans who really legitimately want to go in there and make a legitimate purchase. But they're very easy for bots to beat because there's actually anti-captcha software that exists that easily defeats this stuff and gets in there super fast. That's part of the reason that they're successful and they're easily able to get in there and do this. So I'm going to just remove the screen share here for a minute. But while you may be upset about other resellers who are doing this, and I'm not telling you you're wrong if you feel that way. If you think personally that it's just ethically wrong, that it's morally wrong, that's based on your personal value system. And no one could really tell you you're wrong about having that feeling. But again, keep in mind, it's not illegal right now, and it's technically not price gouging. So you have to be very careful about how you word things when you have public discussions about this topic. Also, I would say that if you are mad at resellers for doing this, let's not just purely put all the blame on resellers if you're going to do that, because there's multiple parties here who bear responsibility, and that allows this whole thing to happen in the first place. So first of all, you have manufacturers who don't make enough of the product knowing that there's going to be a very high demand for it. Now, some people could counter that and say, well, they just can't make enough. It's not so easy to just say up the manufacturing. So, okay, let's just say that that's possible. Now, I think that some of the manufacturing can improve and can bump up to whatever extent there are limits, and there would be some limits. Then it gets down to the retailer level. And this is where I have an issue. My main issue with this, actually, by the way, my position on this, my main issue, my main concern about this and problem is actually at the level of the retailer, where the resellers are getting the stuff from to begin with. Because remember what I said earlier with the bots. These bots go faster than any human could possibly get through a checkout process. Now, the retailers know how long it takes an average person to log on to their network and complete an order. They know what's possible. They know what's not possible. All they have to do is come up with, some kind of software that detects whether or not the whoever's going through this to differentiate between bot and human is doing it faster than is humanly possible. That, to me, would be something that would be a successful measure, because the only way that a bot would be able to counter that is to slow down how fast they're going through the process and to make it close or very, very close or identical to what a human being could do. And at least if that happened, you might still have bots, but you'd have more people, more consumers who actually would have a fair shot at getting the product. Now, the other group that bears some responsibility for this are the consumers who are spending $1,000 and $5,000 for a PlayStation 5 console that you don't need. Okay. Now, they have every right to spend that money if they want to. But my point is that as mad as you might be, and you might have like legitimate emotional feelings inside, I'm not trying to invalidate those feelings for anyone who feels that way. If you feel that way, I get it. I understand how you feel that way. But again, from the reseller's perspective, for those who are doing it, again, it's not illegal. It's technically not price gouging. It's made available. The manufacturers are not producing enough stuff, and the retailers are not capping them off, and the consumers are buying it. So it's never going to go away unless something there stops. So like you can have a situation where, let's say, the manufacturers, they don't follow through, they don't make enough stuff. Okay. And you could have a situation where the retailers don't do what I suggested in terms of making some detection software for how fast people go through it. You can have both of those things fail. But if the consumer is not willing to pay those amounts, that's going to dissuade resellers from purchasing those types of things to begin with. So that is a big problem. I mean, you could look behind me. Even Pink Panther and Tasmanian Devil, they don't have PlayStation 5s. They're on a Wii and they're on a Switch. Now, I'm obviously joking around there, but seriously, like for me, I love video games. That's why I have the consoles behind me. But even when, you know, there wasn't like such a big thing about bots out there with video game systems, I always just waited. I waited like 6 months or a year to buy whatever the newest console was because I just waited for the price drop. I waited for bugs to get worked out, and I waited for more software to be available. That's it. So, you know, there's multiple parties again who bear, if you want to call it, responsibility or to like an explanation for how this whole thing can happen. However, again, that being said, to go back to just the consumer side of it, though, even though what I said, you know, is accurate in terms of the different parties and the responsibility that they bear for all of this that, you know, can take place, the thing is that if consumers do raise enough of a ruckus about it, and the media does, and there's more and more stories about it, eventually, again, there's, you know, a strong possibility, I think, that this is going to go to the level of politicians, and then it's going to go to the FTC, and they're going to start to regulate this. If this keeps happening to this extent, it's just at least something to keep in mind. Because I don't have a crystal ball, I can't 100% predict it, but prior behavior is usually the best predictor of future behavior. And since we already have something on the books for you know, anti-botting laws with tickets, it can happen with other things as well. So that's basically my bottom line on it. I would definitely like to hear your opinion down below. Just make sure that it's respectful and it's not some kind of like trolling, bashing comment. You know, again, you can disagree with me all you like. I don't mind that. Again, just keep it respectful towards me or towards others who you might be interacting with, or I'm just going to remove the comment. You know, I don't expect, again, everyone to agree, because if you're going to go on YouTube and you're going to have a, you know, an opinion about something or wade into a controversial issue like this, you know, I get it that not everyone's going to always agree with it, but hopefully we keep the conversation civil down below. And that's pretty much it on this topic. So I hope that you enjoyed, you know, the coverage of it, and you know, we'll see what happens with it down the road. I'm sure this isn't the first time that we're gonna or the last time that we're going to revisit. I actually visited it previously when we talked about masks, face masks, but that was a different situation. That was price gouging because that was a situation where that was a medical necessity at the time. So it's a different situation, and that's why states were cracking down on people and platforms were cracking down on people as well. To the best of my knowledge, no one's been arrested for selling a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox at a high price. And no selling platforms like eBay, Amazon, Mercari are cracking down on sellers for the prices they put on these types of things. So that's it, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you at the next one, everyone. Take care.